On the quiet school campus, Matsuboshi sits beside Rina in class. The teacher is in the middle of his discussion, but Matsuboshi can't focus. His eyes drift toward Rina, who doesn't acknowledge him at all. Her silence and indifference form a quiet wall between them, one he can't seem to cross. In their second year of high school, Matsuboshi finds himself beside her once again. He looks around the classroom, unable to tell what kind of people their new classmates are just yet. In his mind, he imagines the usual mix: bossy types who try to control everyone, attention seekers desperate for praise, and competitive students willing to go as far as sabotage. No matter who they are, Matsuboshi vows to protect Rina from all of it. Someone suddenly calls out to him. Ishikawa points out how he and Rina are seatmates again. Hanako is there too, happy they're in the same class once more. Mitsuki is with them this year, though Ishikawa jokes it's boring now that Mitsuki can't peek at them from the windows of another building like last year. They'd exchange silent hopes for a good year ahead, and a few light nods say more than words could. Their new homeroom teacher, Tobaru, introduces herself. She appears strict and composed, announcing that it's her first time taking charge of a homeroom class. Determined to maintain discipline and order, she tries to keep a professional face. However, there's already an issue: Matsuboshi and Rina. Their subtle gestures, too soft for others to pick up on but too sweet for her overactive imagination, threaten her resolve. She's had nosebleeds just from watching them interact. There's even a rumor that they're dating. She prepares herself mentally, knowing she might have to endure far more than she expects this year. While Tobaru discusses the semester schedule, Rina asks Matsuboshi if she can switch seats. The student in front of her has a large frame, and it's hard for her to see the board. Matsuboshi, remembering what they used to do, casually lifts her up and lets her sit on his shoulders while balancing her desk on his head. Tobaru, sensing something unusual mid-discussion, turns around. But by the time she does, both students are back in their original seats. As it turns out, the student in front of Rina notices the situation and offers to switch seats, allowing her a better view of the board. After the first class, they're required to move runes for the next subject. Rina is fast asleep in her chair. Matsuboshi tries to wake her, but she doesn't budge. With time running out, he carries her on his back and walks to the next classroom. Though it surprises him that she's already this tired on the first day, it reminds him of animals in hibernation. Her slow, quiet movements and drowsiness make him imagine that maybe she's storing up energy for a season of growth. If she's entering a new phase of development, then maybe he needs to grow too. In the classroom, Rina eventually wakes. Matsuboshi wants to share his thoughts, but Rina simply thanks him for carrying her earlier. At lunchtime, the two sit together on a bench near the classroom. Tobaru and a fellow teacher walk by, taking notice. Tobaru, doing her best to act indifferent, joins her colleague and sitting across from them at a vacant spot. Rina opens her lunchbox and tells Matsuboshi she made meatballs, the kind he likes. He thinks back to her exhaustion that morning and suspects she must have stayed up preparing them. Rina expresses worry that she made too many, but Matsuboshi reassures her. He insists it's fine as she makes delicious meatballs, and he's happy to eat everything because she went through the trouble of making it for him. Tobaru watches this scene with tension rising in her chest. She tries to focus on her own lunch. When her colleague lifts her food, a crow swoops in and snatches it from her hand. They decide it's safer to eat indoors and walk away, leaving the two students alone again. Now alone, Rina begins feeding Matsuboshi the meatballs herself. One after another, she pushes them into his mouth until he's overwhelmed, struggling to chew and swallow. Still, he endures it, cheeks full. Later in the afternoon, homeroom resumes. The weather has shifted. Rina, sensitive to the cold, begins to shiver slightly in her seat. Tobaru watches from the front of the room, feeling confident for once. She's managed to get through most of the day without a nosebleed despite several close calls. But when she glances at them again, that fragile illusion shatters. Rina now sits in Matsuboshi's lap. To Tobaru, it doesn't look like a classroom anymore. It resembles a snow-covered cabin where two lovers cling to each other for warmth. She tries to stay composed to say her closing remarks for the day, but her vision darkens. Before she can properly dismiss the class, blood begins to stream from her mouth. Final groan, she collapses forward onto her desk, defeated. The next day, Matsuboshi and Rina walk to school together. Ishikawa and Hanako catch up to them as they all make their way to class. They break some news: there will be a transfer student joining them today. When Tobaru arrives in class, she welcomes the new transfer student. She has a red ribbon in her hair, and her slightly open shirt exposes a part of her belly. She greets everyone cheerfully and introduces herself as Riku. Since there is a vacant seat in front of Rina, Tobaru tells her to sit there. Her unusual look and demeanor leave everyone astonished. Students like her are rare at the school. Once seated, Riku turns around to greet Rina, who is behind her. As usual, Rina instantly leans forward, her face extremely close to Riku's. Matsuboshi watches with concern, thinking it's too much of a baptism for a transfer student. Matsuboshi assumes Rina is being too aggressive, but to his surprise, she's only introducing herself. Riku instantly adores Rina. Caught off guard by her cuteness, she embraces her tightly. Reina turns red, visibly flustered. Riku becomes so taken with her that she starts treating her like a baby, smitten by her presence. Meanwhile, Tobaru, doing her best not to pass out, watches the scene unfold. After class, the day winds down and students prepare to head home. Matsuboshi turns to Reina, but she's preoccupied with Riku, who excitedly invites her to hang out. Reina agrees, and although she wants to ask if Matsuboshi can come with them, Riku doesn't hear her. Overexcited, Riku grabs Reina's bag and drags her toward the door. His imagination runs wild, Riku challenging Reina to a power struggle and trying to assert herself in the social hierarchy. Matsuboshi panics, feeling like he must rescue her, and rushes after them. In reality, Reina and Riku are just in a cafe, sipping drinks and having fun. Matsuboshi trails behind them and spots them through the window. Riku is busy taking photos of their drinks while Reina stays motionless. From outside, Matsuboshi watches the peaceful scene. But in his mind, he's convinced something tense is happening. Even though Reina and Riku are just enjoying their time together, Matsuboshi imagines the standoff like something out of a Western film, with both silently fighting for their place. Suddenly, Riku wants to go somewhere else. This makes Matsuboshi panic even more. The fact that she wants to leave with Reina makes him think that she might bring her to a place where fellow punks are waiting, picturing Reina being beaten up. In reality, though, they are simply going to a nearby photo booth to take cute pictures together. Before she can say anything, Riku glances outside and mentions how it's getting late. They decide to head home. Riku leaves first. When she's out of sight, Matsuboshi approaches Reina and asks if everything's okay. Reina says she is, but her face shows some hesitation. What scares her is the thought of her friendship with Riku ending up like the one she lost back in elementary school. He assures her that it's not going to be like that again. That night in her room, Riku rolls over her bed, scolding herself for acting too cheerful earlier. It almost felt weird. But the truth is, all she ever wanted was to be friends with Reina again. She opens an old yearbook from elementary school and flips to a class photo. There captured in the frame are both her and Reina. She had known Reina all along. The next morning in class, Reina greets Riku, and Riku smiles, thanking her for the previous day. Despite the brief exchange, Reina spaces out a lot during the day. Her thoughts return to her elementary school friend, the one she got close to too quickly and eventually lost. She starts worrying that the same thing is happening again. Riku doesn't seem as lively as she was before, and the contrast is hard to ignore. Matsuboshi notices her uneasiness and quietly figures out the reason. He comforts her, saying he does not mind Reina being too close and personal with him at all. Sometimes people just have the wrong idea, so it's better to talk to her. At the end of the day, as Riku prepares to leave, Reina grabs her hand and pulls her aside. She tells Riku that since Riku took her out yesterday, today it's her turn to lead. Riku is surprised but pleased by the idea, though she tries to keep her cool. They spend the rest of the afternoon together, going to places Reina picks. They play games, eat snacks, and enjoy other things. Eventually, Riku is so full she can barely move, and they sit down to rest. It's then that Reina opens up about her past. She tells Riku about a friend she had in middle school, someone she became too close with too soon. That friend suddenly left her behind, and ever since then, she's been scared of forming close friendships. She apologizes if she did anything wrong the other day, but to her surprise, Riku interrupts. She says she should be the one apologizing. Then she tells Reina something she's been keeping to herself. They had already met once before. Back in elementary school during their first day, Riku and Reina sat beside each other. At first, Riku misjudged Reina because of her quiet voice, but when Riku realized she had forgotten her notebook, Reina came closer and shared hers without hesitation. That simple gesture broke the wall between them. From then on, they did almost everything together, eating lunch, walking home, and spending every break side by side. Eventually, Riku began to feel guilty. She feared that dragging Reina around too much might be exhausting her. Instead of asking how Reina felt, she made the decision on her own to step away. She started avoiding Reina. What she didn't know was that her absence confused and hurt Reina deeply. As Riku tells her story, tears start falling down her face. But before she can apologize again, Reina responds. She tells Riku she had fun yesterday, and even back then too. Hearing that, Riku cries even harder. She finally says sorry for everything. Reina comforts her. She's just glad that everything is a simple misunderstanding after all. The next day, Riku can't stop recalling how fun yesterday was. She even considers asking Reina to go out with her again, but her cheerful mood is instantly disrupted when Mitsuki suddenly approaches her. Riku's face shifts from happy to horrified. Though Mitsuki greets her kindly, Riku doesn't recognize her at all. When Mitsuki suggests they go have drinks and catch up, Riku agrees out of courtesy. As they walk, Riku tries to recall who Mitsuki is. She changes schools so often that it's hard to keep track of past classmates. They arrive at a hamburger place where customers are asked to write their names in a logbook. Riku feels this could be her chance to finally know who Mitsuki is. However, Mitsuki writes Takeshi instead. She explains it's become a habit not to write her real name due to anxiety. Riku's hope of solving the mystery fades again. As they wait for their food, Riku keeps thinking about her name. Then Mitsuki suddenly leans in and asks if something is bothering her. Riku is taken aback, thinking Mitsuki might be interested in her romantically. She grows tense as Mitsuki inches even closer. But before she can react, Mitsuki quickly swats at something near her. A bee had been about to sting Riku, and Mitsuki acted just in time. The shock overwhelms Riku. She unexpectedly starts crying, which alarms Mitsuki. But Riku admits the tears are out of frustration. She still can't remember her name. Mitsuki finally reintroduces herself, revealing they were classmates in 6th grade, along with Reina. Riku apologizes for not recognizing her sooner. Mitsuki understands, especially since they never really talked ever since then. Still, even with the name, Riku can't recall her clearly. Back home, Riku opens her old yearbook. Scanning the pages, she finally finds Mitsuki's photo, and only then does her memory come back. The next day at school, Matsuboshi and Reina are having lunch together when Ishikawa and Hanako join them. Shortly after, Mitsuki and Riku arrive. Upon noticing Matsuboshi sitting beside Reina, Riku becomes uneasy. Acting on impulse, she pulls Reina away and scolds Matsuboshi, demanding to know who he is and warns him the two of them have been friends since elementary. When Matsuboshi calmly says that he and Reina are dating, and Reina confirms it, Riku is stunned with embarrassment. Matsuboshi attempts to formally introduce himself, but Riku runs away in shame. The group wonders what's wrong, but Riku simply can't handle the fact that she mistook Reina's boyfriend for just another classmate, and that she even bragged about being close to Reina. Matsuboshi lies lazily on the sofa, holding a bag of chips and watching the TV show without much interest. His eyes land on a video game case lying on the center table. The title reads Granny Crossing. His sister, seeing this, tells him that she is preparing for an upcoming exam, so he can try the game since she won't be able to play it for a while. With nothing better to do, Matsuboshi picks it up and decides to give it a shot. The game is a town simulator where players build their own villages filled with animal residents. Intrigued by the idea, Matsuboshi creates a character that looks exactly like himself. From the moment he starts, he becomes fully immersed. In the game, he meets Tom, a cheerful and successful animal character who lives in a beautiful house that is at least 10 times bigger than Matsuboshi's small starter tent. Matsuboshi feels motivated and curious, and Tom offers advice. He tells Matsuboshi to gather sticks, fruits, vegetables, and any useful items. He can sell these to him, and he will give him money in return to upgrade his home. At first, the game seems simple, but it quickly becomes clear that each task comes with obstacles. Bees swarm out of trees when Matsuboshi shakes them for fruits. Still, he does his best, gathering everything he can find. At the end of the day, he brings the items to Tom, who is impressed by his dedication. Tom pays him 100 pels for each item, explaining that it's all he can afford because of the game's poor economy. Rather than being discouraged, Matsuboshi becomes more determined. He works harder, fishing whenever he can, catching rare insects such as butterflies, building furniture, and even constructing a handmade wooden table to sell. Once again, Tom is happy for this, and his efforts pay off when Tom buys all the items for 5,000 pels. Eventually, Matsuboshi starts a small garden in the game and grows his own cabbages. When harvest time comes, he brings his crops to Tom. Before handing them over, he sees Tom in the marketplace claiming the cabbages as his own, telling customers they are organic and grown by him. Matsuboshi watches silently as Tom sells the cabbages for 2,000 pels each, 20 times more than what Matsuboshi gets. Still, when Matsuboshi approaches to sell more, he mentions how high of a price Tom sells his cabbage, so Tom offers him some extra pels as a bonus. Matsuboshi earns over 30 million pels, enough to buy the house of his dreams. His in-game home becomes cozy and spacious, filled with custom furniture and decorations. It feels like a real accomplishment, and he enjoys the comfort of what he built through effort. At lunch the next day, Matsuboshi shares his in-game experiences with Reina. She tells him she used to play Granny Crossing too and invites him to visit her town someday. Before doing that though, Matsuboshi focuses on finishing his own town. He works day and night in the game, farming vegetables, crafting furniture, and trading with his neighbors. Eventually, his town becomes one developed town in the game. With so much wealth, he hosts a fancy birthday party for Tom. They go to a virtual bar, enjoy music, and are entertained by girls. Tom ends up falling in love with one of the girls at the bar. As they spend time together, he begins to dream about a future with her, traveling, getting married, and even starting a family. That evening, Tom and Matsuboshi also have dinner on a yacht, watching the view and talking about how far they've come. Everything seems perfect until Tom notices a gunman hiding in the shadows. The shooter aims at Matsuboshi. Without thinking, Tom jumps in front of the bullet to save him, and he dies in Matsuboshi's arms. The loss affects Matsuboshi deeply. His avatar changes, his once bright clothes turn dark, and his hair grows long and unkempt. He buries Tom in the virtual town, building a small cemetery with Tom's statue. and he visits the grave often, remembering his friend. Eventually, he remembers Reina's invitation. He decides to visit her town to distract himself. When he arrives, he is shocked. Reina's town doesn't look like a normal game environment. It is incredibly detailed, with realistic lighting, lifelike establishments, and even bigger and larger roads and buildings. Everything feels like real life. The town is so advanced that Matsuboshi begins to wonder how much time Reina spent building it. His curiosity turns into suspicion. He starts to believe Reina is trying to recreate Earth within the game. The structures, routines, and people in her town are too real. He even starts to imagine that Reina might want to leave the real world entirely and live in the virtual one. As his thoughts spiral, Matsuboshi recalls a theory about virtual worlds. If a simulation has enough data and detail, it could become indistinguishable from reality. With the help of a quantum computer, such a simulation could potentially become real. The more he thinks about it, the more anxious he becomes. He thinks about how virtual reality and actual reality can clash and switch places. Faced with this possibility, Matsuboshi makes a decision. You must pull Reina away from the game before the line between their world and the simulation disappears forever. Matsuboshi arrives at school the next day and is immediately concerned when he sees Reina's seat empty. His imagination starts running wild. He wonders if Reina has fully uploaded herself into the virtual world. In his head, he prepares to accept the possibility that she no longer exists in reality. As his thoughts spiral, he strikes a strange, dramatic pose, silently declaring that he will soon follow her into the game. At that exact moment, the classroom door opens. Reina walks in and catches Matsuboshi mid-pose. He immediately tells her how amazing her town is in the game. Reina explains that she shares the game file with her brother Ren, who is really into it. That's why the town looks so developed. Still suspicious, Matsuboshi asks if Ren still exists in the real world. Reina doesn't understand what he means and simply stares at him in confusion. The next morning, Matsuboshi is getting ready for school. His mother is in the kitchen preparing food. Feeling thirsty, he grabs what he thinks is a glass of milk from the table and drinks it in one go. But as soon as he finishes, he realizes the taste is off. It's not milk. It's amazaki, a traditional sweet Japanese rice liquor that his mother poured for herself. He stares at the box of amazaki and begins to panic. He remembers reading about the Japanese Liquor Act, which says anything with at least 1% alcohol is considered liquor. He convinces himself that he is now officially drunk. He thinks about the typical effects of alcohol: inflated ego, extreme friendliness, and all sorts of behavioral changes. Feeling as though these things are already happening to him, he decides it's time to head to school. On the way, he runs into Reina on the road. He greets her in a loud and dramatic tone, his voice noticeably different. He even threatens to leave Reina behind if she doesn't catch up quickly, then suddenly grabs her face to speak more seriously. As they walk together, Matsuboshi notices how heavy Reina's school bag looks. Without hesitation, he picks up both Reina and her bag, carrying her as if she were weightless. Reina squirms in discomfort, her legs flailing, but Matsuboshi tells her to stop moving or she'll fall. Later in class, their teacher Tobaru asks everyone to open their textbooks. Reina has forgotten hers again, so Matsuboshi drags his desk right next to hers, sharing his book while sitting unusually close. Tobaru, noticing Matsuboshi's intense behavior, becomes visibly uncomfortable. Once again, overwhelmed by the stress, she spits blood and collapses at the podium. For the next period, the class has to change rooms. Riku spots Reina in the hallway and calls out to her, but Matsuboshi immediately invites Reina to walk with him instead. Reina agrees, and Riku is left standing alone. Even Mitsuki, who is hiding behind a wall, senses how strange Matsuboshi is behaving. Despite her effort to stay hidden, Matsuboshi finds her. She trembles as he approaches, but instead of doing anything odd, he simply points out a burdock root stuck in her hair. He plucks it out, puts it in his mouth like a toothpick, and then walks away, telling her to get herself together. Throughout the rest of the day, Matsuboshi continues to act unusually aggressive but extremely helpful. He lets classmates borrow his notes, feeds Reina during lunch, lends his coat when someone gets cold, protects Reina from a stray baseball, and even helps carry the teacher's things. Despite his strange and intense behavior, his classmates thank him for all this help. Still, Riku, watching him from the doorway, can't shake off the feeling that Matsuboshi is scary today. As class ends, Ren and Iru walk home together, chatting about random things from school. Suddenly, they hear someone call out to them. Ren immediately lights up at the sight of him and rushes over without hesitation, jumping on his back like everything is normal. Iru, on the other hand, notices something strange about Matsuboshi's behavior. His attitude feels different, unnerving even. What catches Iru even more off guard is when Matsuboshi turns to her and, out of nowhere, thanks her for taking care of Reina. His tone is so intense it creeps Eru out so much that she immediately pulls Ren off his back and hurries him inside their house without another word. Left alone with Rina, Matsuboshi turns to her and comments on how red her face looks today. Concerned, he leans in close to check if she has a fever. His face gets so close to hers that Rina flinches. Even though she feels fine, his closeness makes her flustered. To make things worse, her nose suddenly starts bleeding, so they sit on a bench nearby for her to clean up. While Matsuboshi presses a handkerchief to her nose, he calmly explains how nosebleeds can happen. Though Rina is physically fine, she suddenly bolts from the bench and runs straight home, wanting to get as far from Matsuboshi as possible. Back at home, Matsuboshi greets his younger sister, who's lying on the couch reading something. She immediately notices something off about him. He's acting even stranger than usual. He opens the fridge, grabs his snack, and without hesitation tries to feed her with it. Confused, she stops him, saying it's her food, but Matsuboshi insists as if he's doing her a favor. When his sister gets up to grab a drink, she spots a box of Amazeki in the fridge. Matsuboshi tries to stop her from drinking it, but she reassures him. It's the non-alcoholic kind. It won't do anything. Matsuboshi is shocked. All this time, he really wasn't drunk. The next day, Matsuboshi's younger sister is at school. One of her classmates begs her to take over her cleaning duty in exchange for ice cream, and she agrees. When she gets to the cleaning area, she finds another student already there, Eru. Something about her seems familiar. She looks just like the girl often seen with her brother, Reina. The resemblance is so strong, she briefly wonders if Eru might be Reina's doppelganger, but she quickly shakes off the thought. It's too strange. Just then, someone calls out to her using her last name. Eru hears it and immediately realizes that this girl must be Matsuboshi's younger sister. Matsuboshi's sister immediately jumps to wild conclusions, assuming this girl might try to rope her in a pyramid or something. But Eru only wants to ask a simple question, if Matsuboshi is really her brother. When she confirms it, Eru bows and says he's been a big help to her sister Reina. Eru then introduces herself, and Matsuboshi's sister remembers the cute girl always hanging around with her brother. True enough, Eru pauses before admitting how truly cute her sister is. She goes on praising Reina for being a caring sister and even a good cook. Matsuboshi's sister starts to get the feeling that Eru really loves her sister. As they clean together, Eru also talks about Matsuboshi as a good man. But his sister, in contrast, calls him confusing, though she admits he's occasionally considerate. They spend the rest of the time chatting mostly about Reina and Matsuboshi. Eventually, Eru learns that the siblings don't get along very well. Still, Eru encourages her to keep trying, they're family after all. Matsuboshi's sister nods and agrees to give it a shot. When Matsuboshi gets home later, he finds his sister lying on the couch. She greets him and asks about Reina. Matsuboshi is overjoyed, interpreting her question as a sign she's interested in his life. His reaction is so exaggerated that his sister immediately regrets asking and swears never to do it again. Matsuboshi and Reina walk to school together, passing by a student athlete already training. The scene reminds them that the athletic festival is coming up soon. As they walk further, they notice an elderly man by the side of the road, struggling to lift his surfboard onto the roof of his car. Without hesitation, Matsuboshi steps forward. He squats down, grabs the surfboard, and with effort, pushes it up and over the car's roof. Satisfied, he gives a final glimpse at the car, leaving before turning to rejoin Reina. As they resume their walk, Reina spots something odd. There's a tear in the back of Matsuboshi's pants. His undergarments, brightly printed with a kitten pattern, peek out. She's too shocked to say anything. The tear is obvious, but pointing it out would embarrass him. Then, as two girls walk past them, she acts quickly and closes the space between them, positioning herself directly behind Matsuboshi. Matsuboshi notices her closeness and misreads it entirely. He assumes Reina must be impressed by his earlier action, helping the old man. In his mind, she's drawn to his kindness and maybe even admires his build. Encouraged by the thought, he tells himself he needs to do more heroic acts to maintain her admiration. When they arrive at school, they see several students struggling with a large piece of equipment. Matsuboshi immediately offers help, seeing it as another chance to look impressive. Reina follows just behind him, carefully keeping the tear out of sight from others. As the day continues, Matsuboshi throws himself into every challenge and club demonstration. He joins the 100-person leapfrog attempt, then tries the standing splits challenge. He signs up for a yoga session, contorts himself in the look through your legs challenge, raises his leg at the sumo club demo, and even takes part in the butt battle challenge. With every movement, Reina stays close, mimicking his every action with growing fatigue, determined to cover up his torn clothing. By the time lunch break arrives, Reina is already shaking. Her muscles ache from the strain of staying active all morning. When they reach the rooftop and find themselves alone, she finally sees an opportunity to fix the problem. She tries to approach Matsuboshi to help him, but he gets flustered and runs, assuming she's after him for a strange reason. To him, it seems like she's trying to grab him, maybe even spank him, and he panics. Reina doesn't stop. She chases him across the rooftop until she finally catches up. Matsuboshi braces himself for what he thinks is punishment, but Reina pulls out a thread and needle. With practice, speed mends the tear in one quick stroke. The pants are fixed good as new. But as Matsuboshi turns to thank her, the crotch of his pants suddenly splits open. Reina collapses onto a bench, drained and defeated. The next day, training officially begins for the athletic festival. Each class prepares for the events. During the trials, Riku runs with all her strength, aiming to become the anchor for the interclass relay. But Ishikawa narrowly beats her and secures the anchor spot. Riku still receives praise for her effort. Watching the event, Matsuboshi notices Reina trembling. He assumes she's upset over losing the anchor position. But in truth, Reina is scared. She fears she'll drag her class down because of her slow pace. Matsuboshi, along with their friends, reassures her. They all run fast, so even if she slows down, they still have a shot at winning. Later during stretching, Reina admits she wants to improve. Even if her friends say it's fine, she doesn't want to be a burden, so Matsuboshi steps in as her coach. They start with bait and passing, practicing the overhand and underhand techniques. He teaches her the right hand position and how to match her pace with the next runner. They involve other relay team members in practice, making sure Reina gets used to real conditions. Next, they focus on her running form. Being small, Reina takes short strides. Matsuboshi helps correct her posture, back straight, arms at 90 degrees, and feet moving with toes lifted to keep momentum. For the next few days, they train from early morning until sunset. Reina's lap times improve steadily. Eventually, her progress makes her satisfied. One afternoon, she walks up to Matsuboshi and hugs him tightly. The hug is so firm that he struggles to breathe. Reina's joy is clear. She's having fun running for the first time, all because of Matsuboshi. However, their moment is interrupted when a classmate runs over with urgent news. Ishikawa has been hospitalized due to an injury during club activities. His leg is bandaged, and although the injury isn't serious, the doctor advises a week of rest. The festival is within that week, which means Ishikawa can't participate. The team meets to talk. Losing their anchor is a big setback. Reina, still unsure of herself, volunteers to give up her spot for someone faster. She believes she's the weakest link and wants the team to have the best chance at winning. But Matsuboshi refuses to let her step down. He reminds her that even if they lose, no one will blame her. Then the rest of their classmates appear and tell her the same thing. They all stand behind her, saying they're in it together. Reina tears up upon hearing this, the pressure lifting. Still, there's one last issue. Someone needs to fill the anchor position, so Ishikawa himself asks Matsuboshi to take the responsibility. The day of the athletic festival arrives, and students gather on the field, lined up for their events. Reina and Matsuboshi participate in each of their matches, spending the day moving between competitions and cheering for classmates. During the lunch break, they sit side by side on the field, feeding each other bites of their packed meals. Their classmates glance over, amused and charmed by the sight. As the afternoon rolls in, the interclass relay approaches. The tension builds as each class prepares. The sound of the starting gun echoes through the air, signifying the start of the race, and the first runners sprint forward. Reina and her friends sit by the sidelines, cheering while Ishikawa watches nearby. Seeing the race, you can't help but think back to the conversation they had at the hospital days before. Matsuboshi had taken over the anchor role. Because of the changes made, they need to rearrange the order of the runners to create a more strategic plan, and thinking back to how Reina struggles to keep up with the team, Matsuboshi proposes a plan. Back in the race, Riku receives the baton and charges forward. She overtakes 3 students in a row, pushing her class into 3rd place. She nears the runner in 2nd place but has no time to overtake before reaching the next runner, which is Reina. Reina grabs the baton in an underhand pass, smooth and clean as practice. Observers notice the consistency in their baton exchanges. It's clear they've trained together. Reina pushes herself forward, breathing heavily and legs moving with effort. She remembers her training, Matsuboshi's advice, the countless laps they've done together. Her form stays steady, and though she doesn't overtake anyone, she also doesn't lose ground. When she reaches the next runner and passes the baton, she slows down and slumps her head against Matsuboshi's shoulder. She's exhausted but satisfied. The next runners take off, and Mitsuki sprints with fierce determination, slowly closing the gap between her and the second runner. With her final push, she passes them, bringing their class to 2nd place, while the leading class remains far ahead as their anchor is known to be fast, almost unbeatable. Now comes the final handoff. Matsuboshi grabs the baton. He's in 2nd place, and the gap between them is wide. He takes a deep breath and runs. As he fixes his eyes on the anchor ahead, every muscle in his body moves with intent. He remembers everyone who supported him, his friends, Ishikawa, and most of all, Reina. With every stride, he gains distance. The finish line is close, but so is his opponent. For a moment, it seems like he might not make it, but in one final surge of energy, Matsuboshi leans forward, crossing the line just before the other anchor. The crowd falls silent, stunned, then cheers erupt. Reina runs up first, wrapping her arms around him, followed by their classmates who gather in celebration. Their class advisor, Thobaru, sits on one side as she is handed the championship token. She hesitates to approach. The memory of strange encounters involving Reina and Matsuboshi makes her cautious, but her colleague drags her toward the group, leaving her no time to retreat. As expected, she arrives just in time to see Matsuboshi and Reina hugging each other tightly in the middle of the crowd. A nosebleed follows immediately, and she faints on the spot. As the crowd disperses, Ishikawa stands by himself at the edge of the field. Mitsuki walks over and talks to him. He smiles slightly, praising Matsuboshi's win, though his voice carries a tone of regret. He admits feeling frustrated, injured when it mattered most, and left watching from the sidelines. He had trained harder than anyone, even continuing after hours, hoping to make a difference. To him, it feels like all of that effort led to nothing. Mitsuki quietly listens, then reminds him of how much his presence meant to everyone. She tells him how determined he looked, how inspiring it was to see him push himself. Ishikawa doesn't respond right away, but her words soften his expression, so he tells her he appreciates it. While the class celebrates their hard-earned victory, Riku stands off to the side, not quite part of the moment. She still doesn't feel like she belongs. Despite everything she's done, the distance between her and the rest of the class remains. When she hears Ishikawa has been hospitalized, she wanted to visit him. But the thought of showing up uninvited, while classmates whispering, wondering why she's there, freezes her in place. She tells herself it's better not to go. Now that decision weighs on her. She wonders again if she'll ever fit in, if she will even find her place in class. But she forces the thoughts away and steels herself, determined to try again. Then a voice calls out behind her. She turns and sees Ishikawa. He talks to her about the race earlier, but when she recognizes who he is, she freezes in place. The idea that he might call her out for not visiting him sends her thoughts spinning. She imagines others mocking her, whispering behind her back. Tears spill before she can stop them, and she instantly apologizes for not being able to visit him in the hospital. But Ishikawa simply smiles, says nothing about the hospital, and instead points back to the race. He brings up her performance, how she passed 3 runners. Somehow, his words lift the weight from her shoulders. Days pass by, and soon enough the last stretch of their school break arrives. Riku feels herself slipping into laziness, so she forces herself out of the house, determined not to waste the day. She walks through the city when she spots someone who looks familiar. She rushes forward thinking it's Reina, but up close the person does not recognize her at all. Only then does she realize she got the wrong person. Before the awkwardness can settle, Ren recognizes her. He introduces himself, explaining that he's Reina's younger brother. Riku relaxes and they sit together on a nearby bench, sharing a fish-shaped pastry. The conversation flows easily, surprisingly natural for 2 strangers. Ren seems happy to have met her, and Riku finds herself smiling too. In her mind, getting close to Reina's brother is a way of securing their friendship. Wanting to know him better, she asks if there's anything troubling him. She expects nothing serious, he's just a grade schooler. But he tells her about a new student in his class who struggles to fit in. Ren had invited the boy to play football, but he doesn't know if he did the right thing. His problem surprises Riku so much that she finds it hard to answer. Riku admits she doesn't have real friends either. She mentions her fear of messing things up, of saying or doing the wrong thing. The words pour out before she realizes how serious her confession sounds. She realizes how much she's revealing to a child. But Ren surprises her. He gives her a valuable insight about friendship, and with this, she finds herself admiring him. Then a voice calls Ren's name. They both look up to see Reina. She walks over and asks what's going on. Ren explains that Riku is giving him advice. Reina thanks her, then after a pause, says she needs advice too. Riku freezes and her mind jumps to one conclusion. It must be about romantic relationships. She panics. She's never been in a relationship her whole life, so the thought of offering advice on something she knows nothing about terrifies her. Reina starts to speak again. Although she is talking about her hair, Riku is too preoccupied by her thoughts that she instantly bolts out without letting Reina finish her sentence. Reina and Ren are both confused by her strange actions, but despite that, Ren still hugs Reina and tells her how happy he is to have met Riku. On the morning of their class, Riku sits quietly in her seat when Reina and Hanako approach her. Reina notices the loose socks Riku is wearing and compliments her look, admitting that she's always wanted to try out Yao fashion. Smiling, Riku reaches into her backpack and pulls out a spare pair for Reina to try on. Reina slips them on, and her new look immediately draws attention. Classmates praise her for being adorable. Even Mitsuki notices and offers to style her hair to better match the aesthetic. When Matsuboshi walks into class, he stops in his tracks upon seeing Reina in a full gal look, quite different from her usual modest appearance. His mind begins to spiral as he tries to come up with a logical reason behind her sudden transformation. After some internal digging, he lands on the idea that Reina is embracing change for her self-growth. Convinced that this is her way of exploring a new side of herself, Matsuboshi decides he must be supportive. In his head, he vows to encourage her as part of her journey. During class, Matsuboshi realizes he forgot his printout for the lesson. Reina notices and offers hers so he can follow along. As he responds, his words come out in an exaggeratedly cheerful gal tone. Immediately, he freezes. A sudden panic overtakes him. He begins to believe that Riena's gal energy is overwhelming his own, slowly replacing his identity. To regain composure, he rushes out of the classroom and heads straight to the restroom to wash his face in hopes of returning to normal. When he comes back, the situation worsens. Not only has his speech fully morphed into gal style, but he now wears gal fashion. When Rina mentions she feels tired, he instinctively hands her a jar of vitamin B1, acting entirely within character as a gal. Meanwhile, Tubaru approaches the classroom with cautious optimism. She reminds herself that frequent exposure to Reina and Matsuboshi's closeness has helped her develop a level of emotional resilience. However, the moment she opens the door, her composure collapses. Matsuboshi, fully immersed in gal fashion and mannerisms, now matches Reina's style perfectly. The shock overwhelms Tubaru. She can feel the rising level of tension, and then a sudden nosebleed leaves her with no choice. She turns on her heel and flees, leaving the class unsupervised while screaming that they should study on their own in the meantime. After class ends, Matsuboshi comes up with an idea to invite Reina to town for a fun day together. They spend the afternoon doing a variety of activities, helping children organize a donation drive, picking up trash around the area, and later studying side by side at the library. The next morning, both walk to school separately but meet along the way. Reina, now back to her modest and usual style, walks beside Matsuboshi, who still sports his full gal outfit. Matsuboshi is taken aback by the change, but Reina casually explains that the gal style was just for one day, a playful makeover from her friends. Realizing the shift, Matsuboshi decides there's no need to continue the act. With a quick change, he's back in his original appearance, relieved to return to his own rhythm. That afternoon after class, Reina tells Matsuboshi she wants to go to the arcade, and he agrees without question. Since she rarely invites him anywhere, he quietly wonders why she's so eager this time. Once there, Reina heads straight to a game called Primitive Planet, a dress-up and character-building game targeted mostly at young girls. Though its popularity has waned due to newer mobile games and trending anime series, it still holds a dedicated fan base, and Reina is clearly one of them. While she plays, Matsuboshi waits patiently at the back. After finishing her turn, she turns to Matsuboshi, apologizing for how long it took her. With this, Reina also encourages Matsuboshi to try it too, handing him a small collection of character cards she earned. At first, he hesitates, unsure of what to do with them. But with Reina nudging him persistently and watching with anticipation, he eventually gives in and steps up to the game. Matsuboshi gives the game a try, unfamiliar but curious. He starts by creating a character and models it after himself, short black hair, plain features, and names it Rai. Using the outfit card Reina gave him, he dresses Rai in an adorable ensemble that surprises even him with how cute it looks. As the game transitions to a rhythm segment, Rai begins dancing on screen upbeat music, prompting both Matsuboshi and Reina to watch with amusement and focus. By the end of the round, they rack up 1,500 points. A new card drops from the machine, Matsuboshi's very first prize, an outfit he can use for Rai. With that small win, he finds himself unexpectedly drawn in by the game's charm. As they wrap up, Futaba appears nearby. Reina casually brings up the game, but Futaba brushes it off, acting uninterested. However, when some friends spot Reina and Matsuboshi playing and decide to try it themselves, admiration begins to swirl around Reina. Jealous of the attention Reina receives and curious to spike herself, Futaba lingers. The growing interest from others nudges her pride, and slowly she starts considering giving the game a shot too. Later that night, Matsuboshi sits alone in his dimly lit room, hunched over at his desk. He seems to be busy with something, scribbling and writing with focus. The next day, they return to the arcade, eager to play the game again. This time, Matsuboshi comes fully prepared, carrying a notebook packed with carefully planned outfits for Rai. He selects each piece with precision, and as Ri appears on screen dressed according to his designs, Matsuboshi beams with pride. His vision is becoming reality. He's been studying the game relentlessly, poring over the game's magazines, watching related series, and even streaming live shows just to improve his game performance. He becomes so drawn to the game that even his funds start running low because of it. But when they arrive at the arcade the following day, something is wrong. The game cabinet is missing. A janitress informs them that the machine was removed yesterday due to the game being out of service. Matsuboshi freezes, his face drained of color. The game, which had become a daily joy and escape, is gone. The sudden loss hits him hard. His connection to Rai, the character he had nurtured and styled with such care, is abruptly severed. He stands silently in front of the empty space, processing the reality that he may never see her again. The next day, Matsuboshi looks unusually down in class, his energy nowhere to be found. Seeing this, Reina invites him to the arcade again. At first, Matsuboshi refuses, afraid that going back would only make him feel worse. But Reina insists and eventually drags him along to the arcade. When they arrive, they find a brand new machine installed, Prigachi, the updated version of Primitive Planet. While the game sparks some curiosity in Matsuboshi, he holds himself back, afraid that getting attached again will only leave him heartbroken. In the following days, Matsuboshi finds himself thinking about Rai more often. Her image stays in his mind and it begins to weigh heavily on him. Reina, perceptive as ever, notices the shift in his mood and asks if he's alright as they walk home together. Seeing her concern, Matsuboshi decides it's time to move forward. Above all, he does not want Reina to worry about him. So he decides to give Prigachi a try so he can finally recover from the pain that Prikla left. They head straight to the arcade and begin playing Prigachi. Matsuboshi creates a new character who closely resembles Rai and he names it Ito. As the game loads, he immediately notices the improved graphics and smoother animation, making the experience feel more immersive and enjoyable than before. Just like before, Reina hands him a card she picked out and Matsuboshi uses it to dress Ito in his stylish outfit. Together, they play the game with great dedication like before. Soon, a group of kids gathers around Reina, eagerly trading outfit cards, and Matsuboshi realizes how beloved the game truly is. While he enjoys Prigachi, he knows he'll never forget Rai. Still, just like before, he becomes quickly attached. He installs the mobile app version, begins watching the anime series, buys character figures, and collects every magazine issue related to the game. Together, he and Reina religiously devote their time and energy to the world of Prigachi. They seem to enjoy Prigachi more than Pripla, but when they return to the arcade for another game day, they are stunned to find Pripla back in service. Matsuboshi freezes as memories of Rai come flooding back. Just as he reaches to play, he imagines Ito tugging at his arm, urging him not to look back, while Rai pulls his other hand, silently pleading for him to stay. Torn between the two, Matsuboshi trembles in distress, unable to choose. In the end, he decides that he will not let go of any of them. However, his wallet tells him otherwise. It has no coins left at all. Left with no choice, Matsuboshi says goodbye to both Rai and Ito, walking home in silence, tears falling as the weight of farewell sinks in. The next day, Matsuboshi notices how Reina is absorbed in her notes even during break time. Curiously, he looks over her shoulder and sees that she's writing song lyrics, which makes him wonder if Reina wants to be an idol. His mind quickly drifts to thoughts of Rai and Ito, and for a moment, he considers supporting Reina's dreams. But then he recalls how his tendency to get ahead of himself often leads to misunderstandings. So this time, he decides to stay calm and not jump to conclusions. As time passes, Reina's interests shift again, and he sees her sewing clothes. Matsuboshi's mind races. Maybe she's making her own idol costume, as newbies often do. He fights the urge to assume anything too quickly, reminding himself to observe before making any rash judgments. Although his classmates mention a music assignment, Matsuboshi still fixates on Reina playing the flute. He convinces himself she's aiming to become a singer-songwriter, writing her own lyrics and composing with instruments. The real issue is that Matsuboshi sees idols in everything, and every little detail about Reina seems to fuel that idea. During lunch, he struggles to keep his thoughts to himself, resisting the urge to talk about his idol theory. But even as he eats, his mind drifts to the thought of Reina being a famous idol in the future. No matter how hard he tries, he can't stop imagining her future fame. In the following days, Matsuboshi continues to observe Reina's actions, and everything still seems to point toward his idol theory. One afternoon, while walking down a road lined with food stalls, he notices a small festival happening at the local shopping arcade. A trio of young female idols performs on a makeshift stage, their voices echoing through the street as the crowd claps enthusiastically. Curious, Matsuboshi watches until he suddenly realizes one of the performers is his sister. Backstage, the three girls chat about their performance when Matsuboshi approaches. His sister is visibly embarrassed to be caught, but he doesn't make a big deal of it. As it turns out, she had been invited by her friends to perform for the local neighborhood association. Just as Matsuboshi is about to lead the festival, Reina appears behind him, dressed in a striking idol outfit that matches Iru and Ren. His theory turns out to be true. Reina was preparing to be an idol. She was the one who wrote their songs and even designed their costumes, confirming that Matsuboshi had been right all along. Reina tries to explain that it was all Ren's idea, but Matsuboshi can see she's just shy about showing this side of herself. He gently reassures her, acknowledging how much confidence she's gained. They exchange a quiet fist bump as Matsuboshi wishes her good luck before she heads off for her performance. As Reina and her group run toward the stage, Matsuboshi quietly tells himself that maybe he should start having more confidence in his intuition. The music begins and the performance takes off, each move synchronized, each step delivered with practiced grace. Their choreography flows naturally, showing just how much effort they've poured into mastering every beat. With infectious energy and charm, the group ends their routine with a perfectly timed, adorable pose. The next day, the two of them are heading to school again. Matsuboshi sees Reina walking ahead, so he catches up to her. When she turns to face him, her face is covered by a mask. Matsuboshi instantly assumes Reina must have become an idol sensation because of their performance and is now hiding herself from the eyes of the public. His imagination takes over again. He envisions Reina having millions of fans worldwide, trending on social media and appearing in tabloids. He walks beside her, believing she is now out of his league. However, the truth is simpler. Reina wears the mask because her throat hurts from all the singing, but she remarks she will never sing again. In class, Ishikawa proposes a fun activity for his friends, going to the beach during summer vacation. Coincidentally, Matsuboshi has been thinking about the same thing. However, Reina doesn't seem thrilled by the idea, as she starts to shake and tremble just from hearing about it. Despite her unease, she agrees to go. The group begins chatting about their beach plans, imagining barbecues by the shore and enjoying the summer sun. Riku overhears the conversation but pretends not to care. Still, when Ishikawa personally calls and invites her to join, her attitude shifts completely. She lights up with excitement and quickly agrees to go with them. Matsuboshi wonders which beach they will go to, and Ishikawa comes prepared with a flyer for a new beach destination offering promos to help cut down on costs. The island is accessible only by boat, so they will travel there during the day and return on the last boat in the evening. While everyone listens to the details, Riku doesn't seem to care about the specifics. Her eyes well up with tears from the overwhelming joy of being included. But that's not all. The island also features a power spot known for its breathtaking view of the sun rising and setting over the sea. According to local lore, couples who witness the sun touch the horizon together will stay together forever. Reina, who had seemed hesitant at first, suddenly shows signs of excitement. Her friends notice the change in her expression. Matsuboshi, watching her closely, thinks she must be really looking forward to this trip. His imagination starts to drift again. In his mind, Reina becomes the reincarnation of Robinson Crusoe, an island dweller navigating survival with calm determination. He pictures her surviving the wilds with limited resources. Matsuboshi instantly buys the idea and says he needs to purchase a swimsuit for the outing. With that, the group comes to a realization. None of them have decent swimsuits, so they decide to go shopping together at a nearby shopping center. At the store, Hanako excitedly picks out a swimsuit she thinks would suit Reina and hands it to her. Reina hesitates, staring at it uncertainly. She's never worn a swimsuit before. Hanako notices her unease but gently assures her that it's fine, reminding her that it's just for one day. So Reina agrees to try it on. Meanwhile, Riku and Mitsuki exchange swimsuit suggestions, each trying to find the perfect one for the other. As they shop, Riku expresses her gratitude. She's always dreamed of doing things like this and feels happy to be included in their plans. Eventually, Riku and Mitsuki try on the swimsuits they picked for each other. Hanako, watching nearby, stands in awe, impressed by how well the outfits suit them. Not long after, Reina steps out of the dressing room in the swimsuit Hanako suggested, looking unexpectedly adorable. Hanako lights up, quickly pulling out her phone to take a photo of her. Reina confidently poses, but when Hanako mentions possibly sending the photo to Matsuboshi, Reina's cheerful expression vanishes in a flash. While the girls enjoy a fun day shopping, Ishikawa and Matsuboshi sit in a cafe, scrolling through their phones. With limited options for guys, they resort to online shopping. Matsuboshi shows Ishikawa a full-body diving wetsuit he's considering, and Ishikawa bursts into laughter at the sight of it. Suddenly, Matsuboshi gets a message from Hanako saying she's sending a photo of Reina in a swimsuit. Curious, he looks over, but the photo turns out to be just a close-up of Reina's face. As it turns out, when Reina heard Hanako's plan to send her photo to Matsuboshi, she got embarrassed and refused to take a proper picture. All the photos Hanako managed to send are either too close or too far to see clearly. Reina later admits that she's too shy to show herself to Matsuboshi like that and wants to save the look for when they're actually at the beach. Hanako thinks her reasons make sense, so she quickly apologizes. Though Reina appreciates Hanako's help, she can't shake off her fear of change, afraid that becoming someone different might also change how Matsuboshi sees her. Hanako, with a calm smile, tells her that change isn't something to be afraid of. After all, she and Matsuboshi have already changed in many ways since they met, and those changes are what brought them closer. As Hanako says this, Riku and Mitsuki, who have been listening nearby, jump in. They tease Hanako, using her own advice against her. Maybe she, too, could embrace a little change. The day of their outing arrives, and the friends ride the boat toward the island. As it approaches the isolated land in the middle of the blue seas, they watch with growing excitement, anticipating the memories they'll create together. Meanwhile, at home, Ren wonders why Reina isn't around. Erov, sitting nearby, casually tells him that she went out with Matsuboshi. Ren's smile fades. He wishes he had gone too. Era notices and gently comforts him, saying they went with their classmates. To cheer him up, she decides to play with him instead. Era displays a composed demeanor, but beneath the surface, her mind spins with restless thoughts. She starts to strategize. If anything goes wrong, she'll ride a helicopter to retrieve Reina, or better yet, a charter boat. She even considers checking the island's layout and safety details, just in case. But her spiraling thoughts are interrupted when Ren calls out, asking her to watch a movie. They sit together and play the film, but it turns out to be strange, about a cult or ancient tribe that captures a woman and forces her into marriage, crowning her as their queen. As the scenes unfold, Eru's thoughts spiral once again. She pictures Rina in a similar situation, wrapped in ceremonial robes, trapped, held against her will like in ancient times. The idea unsettles her deeply. On the contrary, Rina is actually having fun. At the beach, the group enjoys the sunny day. The girls are in swimsuits, Matsuboshi wears a single undergarment, and Ishikawa is in a shirt and shorts. As the girls approach, Matsuboshi can't help but stare in awe. Rina stands there in her swimsuit, a flower tucked into her bunned hair. Though Rina thinks she looks weird, Matsuboshi doesn't think so at all. To him, she looks cute, really cute. Rina blushes at his gaze, and their friends immediately notice, teasing Matsuboshi as he tries to brush it off. Hanako, in her bright swimsuit, also catches Ishikawa's attention, and he compliments her look. Since they need to catch the last boat that day, they decide to make the most of their time and have fun. They go swimming, play volleyball, have races, and enjoy various games. Hanako builds a sandcastle, but when she turns to Reina, she's shocked to see an enormous structure, big enough to fit Matsuboshi inside. They grill barbecue like they planned, but the meat is tough and unappetizing, clearly the result of a cheap cut. While looking out at the ocean, Riku reflects on everything that's happening. She's on a beach, eating barbecue with a co-ed group. She can't help but admit to herself that she's having fun. That afternoon, the sky turned cloudy, hiding the sunset they had all been looking forward to. Reina, especially, feels disheartened, but Matsuboshi steps forward and reminds everyone that what truly matters is the fun they had throughout the day. The group nods in agreement, their spirits lifting a little. Suddenly, Ishikawa's phone buzzes with an alarm. It's time for their boat ride home. The group is about to gather their things and rush to the shore, only to see the boat already sailing away in the distance. Ishikawa quickly checks the schedule and realizes with horror that he had read the departure time wrong. That was the last boat for the day. With no other transport available, they're stranded on the island for the night. Everyone panics, scrambling to find a solution, but Matsuboshi's imagination drifts elsewhere. He compares their predicament to John Manjiro, who was stranded on an island with his comrades until an American ship rescued them. Manjiro eventually found fortune in America before returning to Japan. Matsuboshi wonders if he could do something similar, though he's not fluent in English. His daydream is cut short when Ishikawa speaks up, revealing they can stay overnight at the island's lodging. Matsuboshi is taken aback, surprised to learn there are people living there. Behind the beach, a different view emerges. Establishments, paved roads, and even cars. Contrary to what they imagined, the island is actually quite developed. So they decide to go there, dropping by a convenience store first before checking in. While the others go inside the convenience store to buy necessities, Matsuboshi and Rina are left outside to wait. She takes the opportunity to text her siblings, and Eru receives Reina's message, informing her she will not be able to go home for the night. Reina even attaches a photo to the message, showing how developed the island is, so there's basically nothing to worry about. In the lodging, Ishikawa feels bad about mistaking their schedule, which caused them to stay for the night. Still, it becomes a memorable experience since they found a place to stay at an affordable price. However, when they take a look at the room, they discover a small issue. There's only one bed, meaning they have to share it with each other. Meanwhile, Riku calls her parents to inform them she can't make it home for the night. Her parents are mad, so she keeps apologizing over the phone until Mitsuki approaches her, prompting her to end the call. Mitsuki expresses concern about Riku suddenly spending the night, but Riku assures her it's fine. Deep inside, it's something Riku has always dreamed of. What catches her attention most is that Mitsuki calls her by her first name for the first time, making her tear up in joy. Later, Mitsuki invites Riku to take a bath with them. They share the bathtub, submerging their bodies in the warm, relaxing water as they talk about the day. Despite the unexpected turn of events and getting scolded, Riku admits she is still having fun. Rina also joins them, reminded of what Matsuboshi told her earlier when he saw her in a swimsuit, causing her to blush and hide her face beneath the water. She turns to Hanako and thanks her for pushing her to do things she's afraid of. Hanako also recalls Ishikawa's compliment earlier. Unlike Matsuboshi's flustered reaction to Reina, Ishikawa simply told her she looked cute, just like always. It makes her feel like nothing's changed. Though his words are kind, they feel routine, as if she's still the same girl she's always been in his eyes. Meanwhile, back home, Eru and Ren are also sharing a bath. Ren brings up Eru's earlier plan of flying a helicopter to rescue Reina from the island. But this time, she says, things are different. Reina is growing up, and Eru realizes she can't hover over her forever. She needs to give Reina space to experience things on her own. She gently tells Ren that he should learn to do the same, like taking his own bath. Still, both of them admit the house feels larger and quieter without Reina. In the lodge, Ishikawa and Matsuboshi share a bed. Ishikawa keeps apologizing for the mistake he made, but Matsuboshi reassures him that it's fine. It's not the first time they had to sleep beside each other anyways, recalling their camping trips. They continue chatting until they both drift off to sleep. Meanwhile, the girls are in a separate room with two connecting beds. They sleep soundly, but Reina wakes up early in the morning, still dark outside. Checking her phone for the time, she sees a message from Matsuboshi. Matsuboshi stands at the edge of a cliff, alone when Reina calls out to him from behind. She wonders why he wanted them to meet there. He gestures toward a breathtaking view, the sun rising from beneath the sea, slowly ascending into the sky. Reina is mesmerized by the sight, too stunned to speak. The moment is serene as they watch the sun touch the water. Though they missed the sunset the previous day, the sunrise feels just as magical. As the two continue to watch the view, Reina grabs Matsuboshi's arm and asks if they will always be like this in the future. Matsuboshi reassures her that even if they change, they will always be together. Reina is satisfied with his answer, feeling a sense of peace. Morning arrives and they are lining up to board the boat and leave the island. Riku, uneasy, worries that her mom is still angry, but the others share a feeling of sadness that their time together is ending. They had such a great time, and they seem to want more. Just as they're about to leave, Ishikawa comes up with a bold idea. Why not enjoy the beach once more, but only until the last boat leaves? Matsuboshi, without hesitation, reveals his swimwear and agrees with him. Soon, the rest follows suit, and they all race back to the beach. Riku, still anxious about her mom's reaction, has no choice but to join them for another round of fun, despite her concerns. Futaba runs to the playground right after class, hoping to find Atsushi. She expects him to still be playing there. But when she spots him, her steps slow. Atsushi is laughing, playing catch with someone else. Futaba freezes. The sight shocks her. She doesn't want anyone else touching Atsushi like that. She quickly calls out to them. Atsushi turns and smiles, introducing the girl as Riku. He says everyone calls her Lady Skanda because she's super fast and really cool. His friends nod in agreement. Atsushi starts to say more, but Futaba cuts him off. Instead, she challenges Riku to a game of cops and robber. She wants to see how fast Riku really is. Riku agrees right away, confident. The game begins, and Riku dashes after Futaba, who proves to be just as quick and agile. They sprint across the playground, weaving between slides and climbing bars. Their chase goes on and on while Atsushi and the other kids watch nearby. By the end of the game, both Riku and Futaba are out of breath. Riku turns to her with a smile, impressed. She admits Futaba is fast, then sits up and offers her hand as a proper introduction. Futaba hesitates at first, unsure, but then reaches out and shakes Riku's hand. Her smile returns, bright and cheerful, as she tells Riku her name. At that moment, Reina and Matsuboshi arrive together and are surprised to see Riku playing with the kids. The children rush over to them, excitedly asking Reina to join the game. Reina agrees, letting herself be pulled into the fun. Reina also insists Riku should play too. Riku nods, pleased by the invitation, and joins the group once more. Together, they all begin another round of cops and robbers across the playground. During the game, Riku catches Atsushi by the neck again. Everyone laughs, but Futaba's heart sinks. Deep down, Futaba still sees Riku as a rival. The next day feels like any other. After class, Futaba rushes to the playground, eager to see Atsushi. But as she arrives, she sees him sitting on a bench, playing closely with someone she mistakes for Reina. Her heart sinks. She thinks Reina is trying to charm Atsushi again. Fuming, Futaba stomps her way toward them, ready to speak up. But when she gets closer, she realizes it isn't Reina at all. It's someone else. Ren smiles warmly and tells her he's glad they're friends with his sister. That's when Futaba learns the truth. Reina is Ren's sister. Atsushi laughs and explains that they call Ren Secret King Aha, while Reina is King Aha. Ren is like a different side of her. He's also really good at card games and often helps the kids with them, making him just as fun to have around. Meeting Futaba, Ren is excited to have her as a new friend and invites her to play with them. Though not as eager, Futaba agrees and joins in. Right away, she feels drawn to Ren's charm, but she refuses to let her guard down. She still suspects he's trying to win over Atsushi, and she doesn't like that idea. Together, they all run around the playground laughing and chasing each other in a new game. As the game goes on, Futaba finds herself growing more comfortable around Ren despite her doubts. By the end of the game, everyone drops to the ground, out of breath and tired from all the running. Just then, Reina and Matsuboshi arrive. Ren happily tells them he's been playing with the kids. Reina smiles and thanks the group for being kind to her younger brother. Futaba is shocked to learn that Ren is actually a boy. Suddenly, everything changes. It means he can freely play with Atsushi, and she has nothing to worry about. Relieved but unsure, she watches as Ren hugs both her and Atsushi tightly. Then he holds Atsushi's hand and says they should play again soon. That instantly wipes the smile off Futaba's face. In her mind, they're still enemies after all. The next day, the kids arrive at the playground and are greeted by a familiar dog, Reina's pet. Excited, they run over to pet and play with it, expecting Reina to be nearby. But instead of her, someone else appears. It's Ero, walking the dog alone. The kids pause, confused. They wonder why Reina suddenly feels like a completely different person. To figure out what's going on, the kids gather behind the bench to whisper and discuss. Ero tries to introduce herself, but they completely ignore her. Nothing can interrupt their meeting. Thinking she's Reina in her true form, they kneel before her with serious faces, calling her True King Aha. They believe this intense version must be Riena's real identity. Eru watches, puzzled, but then remembers Reina once mentioned some grade schoolers. Eru is about to leave with the dog when Atsushi suddenly calls out, asking her to teach them skateboarding since Reina is known to be an expert. Eru hesitates, but thinking it would reflect badly on Reina if she refuses, she accepts the challenge and agrees to teach them for a bit. Soon after, Eru returns wearing full protective gear, looking ready and confident. But the moment she steps onto the skateboard, she falls straight to the ground. Still, she tries her best to explain the basics to the kids. No matter how hard she tries, she keeps slipping and falling, so she comes up with an excuse to end it. Promising to continue the training tomorrow, she then hurries away. Back at home, Eru practices skateboarding, but no matter how hard she tries, she keeps falling. Doubts flood her mind. She wonders if she'll ever be able to replace Reina. Just in time, Reina steps out the door and catches her. Seeing her struggle, Reina offers to help. To save Reina's reputation with the kids, Eru gratefully accepts the help. Ren, hearing this, joins in too. They start from the basics and Eru struggles to find her balance. Even Ren is better at it than she is. But Eru refuses to give up. Slowly, she begins to improve until she finally masters the skill. The next morning, Eru teaches the neighborhood kids how to skate, but as soon as she finishes, they eagerly ask her to teach them something new, Cat's Cradle. Futaba walks toward the playground, excited. She overhears the boys talking about trying Cat's Cradle today, and she's determined to join them, even planning to show off her skills to impress them. But when she arrives, she's surprised to find someone already teaching them how to play. To her shock, it's Eru, whom she mistakenly thought was Reina. She calls out to her and Eru responds, but the moment Futaba takes a closer look, she instantly realizes it's not Reina at all. Eru invites her to join the game. Though Futaba is hesitant at first, she watches Eru demonstrate the technique. But then she runs off, telling them she can do it herself. Futaba struggles with the cat's cradle techniques, feeling hopeless as she sits on a nearby bench. Eru approaches and sits down in front of her, offering to teach her the right way. Futaba tries to resist, but she eventually gives in. Eru guides her, explaining each step. After a few tries, Futaba finally gets it right. Encouraged by her success, Eru suggests they move on to more complex techniques. Futaba agrees, and the two spend the rest of the day practicing different cat's cradle tricks. The next day, Futaba walks to the playground as usual, quietly hoping to see Eru again. Sure enough, she spots her sitting on a bench practicing cat's cradle with a book of techniques beside her. Futaba sits next to her. She knows Eru isn't Reina, and she wants to know her real name. Eru hesitates, thinking Futaba might be disappointed because she can't live up to her sister. But Futaba sees it differently. She believes they're two different people, and there's no need to compare. Feeling reassured, Eru introduces herself properly. Futaba returns the gesture warmly, and from that moment, they begin a new friendship. Soon, the kids ask Eru to teach them how to jump rope, and she agrees. But moments later, they all end up tangled in the very rope they're supposed to be jumping with. When Futaba sees Eru and Atsushi wrapped up together in the same rope, her eyes flash with irritation. The next morning, Eru and Ren wake up to find breakfast already prepared. Their lunches are packed neatly, ready for school, and their uniforms are laid out too. Reina calmly waits for them at the table. Eru tries to stop her from doing too much, but Reina still walks over with a comb and begins fixing Eru's messy hair. As Eru and Ren walk to school together, they talk about how good of a sister Reina is. They both feel grateful and want to find a way to show her how much they appreciate her. Eru decides she wants to prove her independence, hoping Reina won't have to worry about her. That afternoon, Eru and Reina meet up with Matsuboshi. Eru doesn't really like him, but Ren invited him, thinking he might know what kind of gift would make Reina happy. When Matsuboshi hears their plan, he dramatically assumes they're forming a blood compact as a family by showing gratitude. Eru mentions that it should be a family-only matter, which only fuels Matsuboshi's wild imagination further. She clearly doesn't want his help, but Ren believes Reina would appreciate the gesture more if Matsuboshi gets involved too. Eru reluctantly agrees. After shopping, they walk home together with bags full of items they bought. Matsuboshi carries the bags, but Eru steals it from him, wanting to prove she's independent. Ren, however, insists Matsuboshi should carry them instead, thinking it would be more helpful. The two argue over the bag until it tears, spilling the contents all over the ground. Frustrated, Ren stomps off, leaving them behind. Matsuboshi begins picking up the scattered items one by one, while Eru quietly apologizes. She admits she's jealous of him because Reina seems to favor him most. Matsuboshi pauses, then reassures her. He tells her she doesn't need to replace anyone. His words sink in, and Eru remembers something similar Futaba once said. Arriving home, Reina waits in front of the house, puzzled as to why Ren isn't with them. When Eru realizes Ren hasn't returned yet, panic quickly sets in. A wave of guilt washes over her, thinking Ren ran away because of their argument. At the same time, Riku happens to spot Ren walking alone along the street. It's getting late, and she finds it odd for him to be out at this hour. Thinking he might have run away from home, Riku decides she should bring him back. It would surely win Rina's trust. But approaching him suddenly could seem creepy or suspicious, so she decides to keep a close distance instead. Quietly, she follows him from behind, unsure of what to do next. Sensing someone is following him, Ren turns around and spots Riku. With no other option, Riku reveals herself. The moment Ren sees her, he bursts into tears. Gently, Riku leads him to a nearby cafe so they can talk. Ren explains everything that happened. Riku listens, unsure of what to say. She admits she always thought Ren was Rina's only sibling. This makes Ren pause. Could it be that Eru just wanted to spend time with Ren alone? Riku encourages him to apologize and make things right. Her words bring relief to Ren, who smiles and gives her a tight hug in thanks. Feeling lighter, Ren grabs the bag of goods and dashes out of the cafe, eager to head home and fix everything. Riku watches him go, quietly rooting for him. Ren walks toward their house and night has already fallen by the time he gets close. As he approaches, he sees Eru standing outside, clearly waiting for him. Without hesitation, he runs to her and wraps her in a warm, tearful hug. He apologizes, crying with relief and joy. Through the conversation, they realize that everything they've done stems from the same place, their love and devotion to Reina, the sister they both treasure. Unbeknownst to them, Reina and Matsuboshi quietly watch from nearby, admiring the heartfelt view. The next day, Reina and Eru prepare breakfast for Reina, just like how she usually does for them. This time, though, Reina gets to sit and enjoy a meal made especially for her, filled with all her favorite dishes. The two proudly watch as she eats, satisfied with their effort. Eru expresses that now they're learning to do things on their own, Reina should take more time for herself. Still, Eru admits she has a lot of growing up to do and may need Reina's help sometimes, but she hopes Reina can rely on them too. Smiling, she presents the lunch she packed for Reina. Touched, Reina hugs both her siblings tightly. Meanwhile, a small pudding is placed in front of Eru. At first, she's puzzled by it, until Ren explains it's a thank you gift for her as well. She is also his big sister. Eru, moved by his gesture, pulls Ren into a warm hug and they both laugh. That morning, Tubaru announces the details of their upcoming class trip. Each student will form a group of 5 to plan their activities together. Excitement stirs in the room, and Matsuboshi can't help but look forward to it. His eyes wander to Reina, who's visibly ecstatic. Watching her smile, he realizes she probably sees this school trip as a rare escape from both academics and home responsibilities. Meanwhile, Riku grows anxious. It's the first time they have to form their own groups, and she knows she hasn't been in class long. Though she's grown close to a few classmates, the idea still rattles her. A hopeful smile flickers across her face when she thinks of her newfound friends, but her heart sinks as she starts counting. There are 6 of them, and only 5 can be in a group. This means someone will have to be left out, and of the 6, she is the newest. Logic tells her the odds aren't in her favor. Riku is already imagining the awkward possibility of spending the trip with classmates she doesn't know well. The thought makes her uneasy. But then she overhears Ishikawa talking to Matsuboshi, casually mentioning that he chose to join another group. It's clearly his way of making sure no one in their circle gets left out. He even winks at Riku after saying it, and her heart floods with gratitude. Later, their group gathers to discuss plans for the trip. When they realize Ishikawa isn't part of their 5, they immediately call Riku over. She lights up and hurries to join them, happy to be included. But as she takes her place, Hanako's eyes drift toward Ishikawa, now chatting with his new group. A hint of sadness lingers in her gaze. Hanako remembers the quiet moment she shared with Ishikawa earlier. He had already anticipated the issue with the group, 6 friends needing to split into 5. Calmly, he decided he would be the one to step away, knowing he had other friends to join. He made it seem casual, but Hanako noticed how Ishikawa tended to joke when something weighed on him. During that conversation, he confessed that after sharing a room with Matsuboshi during a previous vacation, he came to a quiet realization. He believed Matsuboshi and Rina would be better off without his presence. So for this trip, he asked Hanako to look after the two in his absence. Now shifting to the present, Hanako is assigned to be the task leader for their school trip. With this, she gathers the group and asks each member for their suggested destinations. Hanako is the first to share her idea. She suggests Yonryu Cuteland, a place with cute characters and colorful attractions. Mitsuki then opens a magazine she brought along and points to a page featuring a sweets-themed location. Both Riku and Reina politely pass for now, admitting they don't have any specific place in mind yet. When it's Matsuboshi's turn, he takes a moment to think. One place quickly comes to mind, Tokyo Dennisisi. It's a well-known destination, but that's not the only reason he chooses it. He remembers a day when he and Reina passed by a poster of Dennisisi. She had looked at it with fascination and softly said she wanted to visit it someday. That small moment stayed with him. As soon as he suggests it, the group lights up with excitement. Reina, meanwhile, turns red, clearly flustered by the thoughtfulness behind Matsuboshi's suggestion. With everyone in agreement, they settle on Dennisisi as their destination. When the day of the trip arrives, the group boards the plane with excitement. Matsuboshi finds himself seated beside Reina. It isn't Reina's first time flying, but for Matsuboshi, it's a brand new experience. Seated in front of them is Ishikawa, already hyped for the flight. Unlike him, Matsuboshi can't stop thinking about the dangers of flying. His mind spirals into every unlikely scenario possible. As the plane begins to move, Matsuboshi starts to visibly tremble. Without saying a word, she gently reaches for his hand to offer comfort. Reina quietly admits that flying makes her nervous too, so he shifts his grip, placing his hand over hers with more certainty. This somehow eases his anxiety. With this, Reina turns red, flustered. Meanwhile, sitting just behind them, Tubaru is completely overwhelmed by their sweet interaction. She suddenly gushes blood from her nose while her colleague panics at the scene. Sometime later, the plane finally lands in Tokyo, and the students gather in their groups, buzzing with excitement for their school trip. Though their friend group looks forward to visiting Dennisisi, the day's schedule follows a different agenda. The class boards a specialized train that travels through various parts of the city. During the ride, they're introduced to the diverse infrastructure of Tokyo, like unique architecture referred to as trees. Each student also receives a pamphlet outlining the sites. By nightfall, the group settles into their accommodations. Inside the room, the girls pass the time by playing cards and chatting. Suddenly, their teacher enters to remind them of the approaching lights out. Taking the hint, the girls wrap up their game and tuck into bed early, eager to rest before tomorrow's adventure. As lights out approaches, Reina, Hanako, and Mitsuki keep talking, whispering about how quickly the day passed. Just then, Reina's phone buzzes. It's a call from Matsuboshi. Unlike the quiet girls' room, the boys' quarters remain noisy despite the late hour. Matsuboshi calls to check on Reina before turning in, expressing how excited he is for their trip to Dennisisi the next day. They both look forward to having a lot of fun together. The next morning, their friend group finally arrives at Dennisisi, filled with excitement. As they gather near the entrance, Hanako takes the lead in making sure everyone has their ticket ready. Confidently, Matsuboshi reaches for the envelope where he thought he placed his own ticket, only to feel a wave of panic. It's not there. He checks again, still nothing. Rummaging through his bag yields the same result. His excitement turns into shock as he realizes the ticket is truly missing. While everyone gibbles and chats excitedly about the adventure ahead, Matsuboshi stands frozen, panic rising over his lost ticket. Riku teases that forgetting something so important is like being a little kid, causing Matsuboshi to hesitate before finally admitting the problem. Hanako quickly suggests he return to their accommodation to retrieve it, especially since he's certain it was in his luggage. With the group needing to start the tour without him, Reina can't help but feel disappointed. Her excitement for the day feels dimmed. Still, she puts on a brave face and comforts Matsuboshi, just as he always does for her when she's the one who messes up. Their friends also agree, encouraging him not to worry. With no time to waste, Matsuboshi runs off back to their place. Arriving at the accommodation, Matsuboshi quickly checks through his suitcase and breathes a sigh of relief when he finds the ticket. It must have fallen during packing. Just as he prepares to rush back, Tubaru and Miyahira show up at the door to check on him. But their expressions quickly change as they glance at their phones. There seems to be a problem. Meanwhile, the girls are already making the most of their time at Dennisisi. They try on colorful headdresses, eat sweet treats, hop on thrilling rides, and explore the vibrant attractions. Laughter fills the air as they enjoy each moment, though Reina seems worried. Later, while resting at a cafe, they hope Matsuboshi will arrive in time to join the fun. Unfortunately, Hanako checks her phone and discovers that the train is temporarily out of service and won't resume for another hour. Hearing this, Reina's cheerful mood fades. She had looked forward to sharing the day with him after all. On the other hand, Matsuboshi is wandering the streets, torn between waiting for train service to resume or finding an alternate route to Dennisisi. As he weighs his options, he hears Tubaru calling out to him. She and Miyahira have rented a car and are heading to Dennisisi as well. Without hesitation, they offer Matsuboshi a lift. Tubaru tries to act professional, claiming their visit is purely for work-related observation, but Miyahira, being more candid, admits they're going for fun too. Grateful for the timely offer, Matsuboshi quickly hops into the car, determined to make it in time. Once Miyahira starts the engine, Matsuboshi immediately clutches his seatbelt as she takes off at a startling speed, the car swerving through the road with reckless enthusiasm. Thanks to Miyahira's wild driving, Matsuboshi arrives at Dennisisi in no time. He quickly thanks his teachers before dashing into the theme park to rejoin his friends. He finds them at the cafe, surprised by how fast he made it back. But before he can explain, Reina grabs his arm and pulls him to catch the parade. They run through the crowd, leaving the others behind. Reina, eager to make the most of their time, leads Matsuboshi down the shortest path she can find to catch up with the parade. That day, Reina and Matsuboshi spend every moment together, riding attractions, taking pictures, trying out snacks, sightseeing, and just having fun. Time slips away quickly, and soon it's time to leave. On the train ride back to their accommodation, Riku, Hanako, and Mitsuki chat about their day, glancing at Reina and Matsuboshi, who are asleep side by side. It's clear to everyone that the two must have had an unforgettable time together too. The following day, Ishikawa eagerly asks about what happened at Denisizi. Hanako recounts the day's events, and as she talks, Ishikawa listens intently. However, seeing Matsuboshi and Reina together, he ends with a quiet remark he could never compete with Reina. Hearing this, Hanako feels a pang of sympathy for him. Soon enough, the class trip comes to an end, and everyone heads back home. At the Aharon residence, Eru and Ren are playing a video game together in the living room. Ren keeps losing to Eru, who has been practicing the game, so when Ren suggests switching to a new one, she quickly declines. Their conversation is cut short when Reina walks through the door. She hands them oddly shaped keychains as souvenirs, but the sisters exchange looks of confusion, unsure what to make of the strange design. Meanwhile, Matsuboshi also arrives at his home and is greeted energetically by his younger sister, who seems unusually cheerful. She is being especially attentive to him, even offering to massage his back, but her kindness isn't for free. Her true motives come out when she realizes he still hasn't mentioned bringing back a souvenir. To clear her doubts, Matsuboshi's sister decides to ask him directly about the souvenir. As expected, Matsuboshi forgot to give it to her, but assures her he definitely bought one. When he shows it to her, it turns out to be the same odd-looking keychain Reina gave to her sisters. Her expression drops, but Matsuboshi quickly realizes the mistake and pulls out the actual gift, a soft, adorable stuffed toy. The keychain was his own souvenir, not hers. Upon seeing the stuffed toy, her face lights up with surprise. She didn't expect Matsuboshi to pick something so perfectly suited to her taste. Unsure how to express her feelings, she bolts to her room, shuts the door, and admires the stuffed toy alone. In the quiet of her room, she silently thanks her brother for thinking of her. Meanwhile, Matsuboshi sits alone in his room, staring at the pile of impulsive purchases he made during the trip, not really sure why he bought any of them. Back in class, the group can't stop talking about their experiences at Denisizi. Riku, however, remains quiet, her thoughts stuck on the remark she made when Matsuboshi lost his ticket. She worries he might still be upset with her. Wanting to apologize, she gathers her courage to face him, but the moment she turns to speak, panic takes over. She runs out, unaware that Matsuboshi only wanted to ask her for photos from the trip. In the comfort room, Mitsuki finds Riku still visibly troubled. She gently advises that if Riku is truly that worried, then apologizing might help ease her mind. Taking her words to heart, Riku returns to class and bravely faces Matsuboshi. With tears welling in her eyes, she apologizes sincerely, though Matsuboshi looks confused at first, not understanding what she's referring to. After Riku explains everything, Matsuboshi simply admits he has already forgotten about it. Riku, now more emotional, thinks to herself that everyone in their group must be saints, and she's the only one who feels guilty over such a small thing. That day, Matsuboshi is quietly walking alone when he bumps into Ren, who's looking at a display of keychains. Ren says he's picking out a gift for Reina's upcoming birthday. This surprises Matsuboshi. Reina never mentioned it, but now he knows her birthday is soon. The idea of surprising her with a present excites him. Back in class, Matsuboshi tries to figure out what kind of gift Reina might like, but asking her directly feels awkward, so he decides to ask other girls what they want as a gift. Unfortunately, this plan backfires. When he asks Mitsuki, she instantly assumes he's hitting on her and trying to cheat on Reina, so she runs off in a panic. Then, when he casually questions Riku about her preferences, she overthinks his motives. She assumes he's trying to find out her weaknesses to blackmail or trap her, and she also runs away. Matsuboshi is left even more confused than when he started. After all the unexpected reactions from the girls, Matsuboshi decides to do his investigation alone without asking anyone else for help. While walking home, Reina clings to Matsuboshi's arm while he keeps a straight face. His mind is still racing, trying to think of the perfect gift for her birthday. With the days passing by so quickly, he's starting to feel anxious and pressured. Just then, Reina's eyes light up as she spots a taiyaki stall nearby. Matsuboshi watches her closely and suddenly assumes she might be interested in stocks, maybe even planning to invest and increase her profits. The thought stresses him out. He begins to overthink the risks and complications. With his hands shaking nervously, he looks at Reina for answers. But to his surprise, she simply offers him a fish-shaped bread she just bought. It turns out things aren't as complicated as he imagined. Reina simply wanted to eat. She happily shares half of her taiyaki with Matsuboshi. Reina had long noticed a change in Matsuboshi's behavior. Thinking he might be going through something, she gently offers to listen. Left with no other option, Matsuboshi finally opens up and admits he's been struggling to pick out the perfect gift for her birthday. Although Reina never expected a present, she's touched by his sincerity, especially since she never even mentioned her birthday to him in the first place. When her birthday finally arrives, Reina has only one wish: to celebrate with friends. Wanting to make it special, Matsuboshi gathers everyone close to her and throws a small party. Surrounded by the people she cares about, Reina realizes how rare and special this birthday truly is. Even though Reina insists she doesn't want a birthday present, Matsuboshi still gets her one, a life-size doll of himself. Reina seems to like it too. But before they can talk more about it, their friends launch another burst of confetti, this time to celebrate Matsuboshi's birthday as well. As it turns out, the two of them share the same birthday. Without realizing it, they each plan a birthday party for the other, much to everyone's amusement and delight. Now it's Reina's turn to give her gift. She shyly pulls out a box wrapped with a red ribbon and hands it to Matsuboshi. She keeps it a secret, nervous about how he might react, but still determined to celebrate the day with him. When Matsuboshi opens the box, he is shocked to see it's the exact same gift he gives her, a life-size doll of himself. Later that day, Matsuboshi decides to finally organize his messy boxes. While sorting through the clutter, he finds old textbooks and notebooks from past years. Among them, he discovers his old diary, filled with random thoughts he once wrote down. Curious, he shares the diary with Reina, who becomes instantly interested in reading it. So instead, Matsuboshi proposes making an exchange diary. Instead of texting or using social media, they'll take turns writing in the same notebook, sharing their thoughts and feelings in an old-fashioned way. Reina also lights up at the idea and eagerly agrees. Later that day, they go shopping together to find the perfect diary for their exchange. After browsing through several shelves, they finally pick one they both like. Matsuboshi writes the first entry that night with his unique tone and writing, then hands it to Reina the next day. When Reina returns the diary, Matsuboshi is stunned. She has written 10 whole pages in a single day. Feeling the pressure to match her effort, Matsuboshi tells himself that his next entry has to be just as epic. But when he opens the diary again, he's surprised to find it's not the same notebook. Reina has used a different one. This one includes drawings alongside the text, and Matsuboshi begins to overanalyze everything. His imagination runs wild. He starts thinking the innocent drawings might be part of some secret Heron family ritual. The apples could be symbols of original sin, the trees a metaphor for death, and the basket of fruit a representation of endless greed. His thoughts spiral deeper into nonsense, convincing himself that Reina has given him a dangerous book full of forbidden knowledge. Ripping the diary, Matsuboshi wonders if he's now burdened with a secret he was never meant to know. The next day in class, Matsuboshi greets Reina and hints to her about the secret information he discovered. With a serious face, he assures her that no matter what happens, he'll stay by her side. Reina, caught off guard by his unexpected kindness, blushes deeply and becomes flustered, unsure how to respond. Just as Matsuboshi is about to return the diary for their daily exchange, Reina surprises him by pulling out another notebook, their actual diary. It turns out the one Matsuboshi has been holding is Ren's notebook. Apparently, Ren had gone apple picking recently, and the drawings inside were just from that trip. In that moment, Matsuboshi realizes he had been completely overthinking everything. There were no rituals, no hidden messages, and definitely no human sacrifices, just a big misunderstanding. Later that day, the friend group, led by Ishikawa, gathers together as he proposes an activity for the upcoming holidays. They're planning a group Christmas party, but Matsuboshi speaks out, hoping he and Reina can spend Christmas alone since they'll be their first together. Though flustered by the way he says it, Reina agrees. She wants to spend the holidays with him too. Their friends are understanding and give their blessings, letting the two plan something special. That day, Matsuboshi and Reina search online for the perfect Christmas date spot. They even flip through magazines looking for romantic recommendations. That night, back at home, Reina seems a bit restless as she prepares for Christmas. She tries on several outfits in front of the mirror, wondering what would be best. But after some time, she simply stares at herself and decides she'll just be herself this Christmas. The next day, Matsuboshi waits excitedly for Reina when she suddenly calls out to him from behind. She's wearing a cozy winter outfit and has even changed her hairstyle, which instantly catches his attention. Matsuboshi can't help but compliment how beautiful she looks. They head to the place they planned together, a festive plaza with a towering Christmas tree glowing in the center. The lights sprinkle and snow fills the air, but despite the magical view, Reina seems a little off. She looks tired and isn't as cheerful as usual. Concerned, Matsuboshi looks at her closely and gently holds her face. Reina closes her eyes, thinking he's about to kiss her, but instead he places his hand on her forehead. Just as he suspected, she has a fever. Matsuboshi's expression turns serious as he realizes Reina is sick and needs to take care of her first. Because of Reina's condition, the two decide to head home. However, Reina is hesitant. She doesn't want to ruin their plans just because she's sick. But even as she speaks, she's already swaying on her feet, clearly about to faint from pushing herself too hard. Seeing this, Matsuboshi gently insists that they go home. He tells her not to worry, they still have plenty of time to make new memories. Then, without another word, he wraps his scarf around her and lifts her onto his back to carry her home. Arriving at Reina's home, she tells Matsuboshi that she's alone today. Eru and Ren are out with friends, so Matsuboshi decides to take care of her. He carries her up to her room and gently lays her in bed as she falls asleep peacefully. Even though their plans for the day didn't go as expected, Rina's health is what matters most, and she quietly thanks Matsuboshi before drifting off. As he looks around her room, Matsuboshi's eyes land on a piece of paper on her desk. It's a flyer from a college. He stares at it curiously, but before he can think more about it, Reina lets out a soft sigh, catching his attention. When he turns to check on her, she opens her eyes slightly, then suddenly wraps her arms around him and pulls him into bed with her. Apparently, she thinks she's hugging the life-size doll of Matsuboshi, unaware that this time, it's the real one. Reina doesn't seem to let go at all, clinging tightly to Matsuboshi in her sleep. He wouldn't mind if not for the sudden sound of a voice coming from downstairs. It's not Eru's or Ren's, so it must be her parents. Panicking at the thought of being caught in Reina's room, Matsuboshi knows he has to act fast. When Reina's mom comes up to check on her, she finds Reina hugging the life-size doll, while Matsuboshi sits stiffly on the side, pretending to be another doll. He holds his pose as long as he can, with his heart pounding, but the act doesn't last. Eventually, Matsuboshi breaks character and confesses his presence. To his surprise, Reina's mom doesn't get angry. Instead, she smiles warmly and simply thanks him for taking care of Reina. The two of them decide to take the conversation downstairs over some drinks. Although Reina's mom keeps telling Matsuboshi not to be nervous, she's clearly shaking too, so Matsuboshi ends up telling her the same. Reina's mom explains that she rushed home upon hearing her daughter had a fever. She was worried the situation might disappoint Matsuboshi, but he admits that spending Christmas like this isn't disappointing at all. In fact, he's been wanting to meet her for a long time. Reina's mom smiles at his honesty. She tells him that both she and her husband work a lot, so they're rarely home. Still, she believes Matsuboshi has been a good influence on Reina, not just today, but overall, helping her grow and encouraging her dreams. Their conversation shifts to college. Matsuboshi mentions the flyer he noticed in Reina's room, sensing she wants to study in another prefecture. Reina's mom quietly hopes Matsuboshi might follow her there. Matsuboshi, however, admits he hasn't thought that far ahead. Even so, he promises her that no matter where they go, nothing will change between him and Reina. Reina, who has been listening from behind the stairs, suddenly runs and hugs Matsuboshi tightly. She's been scared to bring up the topic of college, afraid he might not take it well. But hearing his words, she realizes that Matsuboshi only wants her to follow the path that makes her happiest. He believes they'll be reunited anyway, no matter where life takes them. Reina begins to cry, overwhelmed with relief, and Matsuboshi gently wipes her tears with his towel. Meanwhile, her mom, who's also been listening nearby, can't help but shed tears too. Reina turns to comfort her, patting her head. Since Reina's fever has improved, she finally asks Matsuboshi why he was at her house. He explains everything that happened. Only then does Reina realize that the one she hugged in bed earlier wasn't the life-size doll, but the real Matsuboshi himself. Embarrassed, she quickly turns red. The next day, the two walk to school together and talk about what they want to do in the future. Reina reveals that she wants to become an art teacher. Unbeknownst to him, he's actually the reason behind her dream. Back when they started exchanging diaries, Matsuboshi encouraged her to teach something she loves. He believed that doing so would help her enjoy her work and build her confidence. Without realizing it, Matsuboshi helped Reina discover what she truly wants for herself.